welcome everyone back to Ga Sai One-on-One. And today I have the OC, the O4 coordinator of 2019, Jody, with us.
Hello.
Welcome, Jody, to be put on the spot today. And last week I got a chance to talk to Ray, the OC of 2017, 2020, as well as upcoming 2021. And I'm very honored today. I have the youngest OC to talk to,
The
the oldest,
youngest.
yeah, the oldest OC of all the time of Ga Sai. And I always like to start off with the first question, with the first encounter. So, Jody, from your experience with Ga Sai, what would be kind of the first encounter or the first time you felt very belong to the community?
My first year was 2009. That was my first GS camp experience. But I think it wasn't until 2013 when I was core. I believe it was 2013. Yeah, when I was core on graphics. So I was the graphics coordinator. And I think that was the year that I felt the most loved, not the most loved, but I felt the most connected with the people I surrounded myself with through church, through Ga Sai, because I think at that time I was going through a lot of different transitions in life. It was from my high school to university so just a lot of transitions during that time. But then I felt grounded when I know that I can reach out to my support system. And at that time, I think my support system was the strongest with my church community. And through that, like I was able to reach out to like some of my biggest supports, like my pillars of strength at that time was like someone like Calvin or something. He was like an older brother to me at that time, and he was really supportive, and we did grow stronger through church. All of the other people that I've met, like even through my core team itself, I felt the support and the love from them from different ways. Like being in first year in core was definitely nerve-wracking, but that the team that I was in was definitely memorable, and it was the first time that I felt like I was part of something really big, right? With Ga Sai, it was for a lot of campers at that time too. And that was when I felt the love. I felt sometimes when I felt at my lowest, then I knew that I was still being supported through the people I met through my church community and through the Ga Sai. Yeah.
Is it through that experience that you got yourself kind of like hooked or attracted to go back year after year to serve?
I think so. That was the year. Yeah, that was the year that I was like, okay, like this is going to be something that's going to be part of the next few years, maybe part of my whole life, right? As something I'm gonna keep going back to. Yeah.
And then over years, I know that Ga Sai has been changing in terms of trying to have a more mosaic approach. So during our conversation earlier, I told you about that because I started to homeschool my younger kids, and then I'm trying to teach them about art, an area that I'm not familiar with. So I have been kind of learning about history, like from classical art to Christian art. And one of the things that we are talking about was mosaic, like how mosaics is being done. And a lot of times that we look at mosaic as kind of, wow, there are so many pieces, so many different little pieces that need to be put together, and a lot of hard work to put together. But if we just focus on one tiny pieces, it make no sense, right? It could be just one color, or it would be pretty boring. So when we talk about Ga Sai is trying to get into a more mosaic approach, or to be kind of helping other immigrants that share the same faith or new to the country, that but however with similar cultural background, what any comments that you have, or any thoughts that you have regarding that change that has impacted yourself as well?
Yeah, so this is from our earlier conversation, right? You were surprised that I actually came here when I was one, because of how because of how strongly I identify with my culture from Hong Kong. I think what you mentioned with Ga Sai initially first being for Chinese campers, right? It was to unite different, you know, immigrants essentially with the same faith, to bring them together and to be able to connect and build a stronger community, or like, as you mentioned, like a family. So for me, having grown up here pretty much my whole life, it was through my church community at Canadian Martyrs. I attended the Cantonese mass with my mom, with my family, and it was through that Canadian Martyrs and Ga Sai that my cultural identity became that much stronger. Because growing up, like, my elementary school didn't have many like Chinese classmates or anything like that either. But through the church community, through Ga Sai, I met so many different people through different stages of life, of having come here to Canada, right, to study or to live, to work, and I was able to just recognize that, like, oh yeah, so we grew up differently, but we still have that common faith, we have that common connection, we still are the children of God. We're coming here to Ga Sai and we're spending 4 days together. I might not have known them in the beginning, but then at the end of the camp, at the end of the 4 days, it feels like I've known them for a long time, and that connection stays, right? Like, there are some friends that I met who moved to Canada, not really knowing anyone or not really having that friendship, and I've seen the Ga Sai community become that like network of friends for them too, right? And being able to listen to their stories and know about their upbringing in Hong Kong, also gives me a glimpse, right? Because I grew up here, but it gives me like a glimpse of that cultural aspect, that I also strongly relate to. Yeah.
So what I heard about community, it's very important so that we can support each other. I think this is consistent all through years, because one of the reasons that when we first started Ga Sai back in 1997, we hope that we can relive the early Christian life, that we are a group of friends or newly met friends, that we share the same faith, that we will support each other on this journey. So over the years that you will have met people in different stages of the faith, and how do you see that? And what's the importance of having this community to support each other then?
Yeah. So I think, so whenever I think about community and a surrounding with each other for support, I recall a conversation that I had a long time ago with my godmom Scala, but it was actually her mom. So I guess it's like my god grandmother.
Yeah,
yeah, so god grandma or something, like Auntie Angelica. Auntie Angelica. She, at that time, I was having a conversation with her, asking for her advice on how to support someone I know through their faith. I guess at that time they were unsure whether to continue with RCIA. So I asked, what can I do, like, as someone, as a support? And she gave me, I guess, a metaphor, like, or imagery, right? Just imagining that one person as a piece of coal. The fire is dim, but when you add more coal around that one dim one, the flame grows, like the fire grows, and that becomes that family, that community that we surround ourselves with. Like, despite, like, even sometimes, like, when my faith isn't strong, or even especially when I'm at Ga Sai, sometimes I feel like, oh, maybe I don't belong here because my faith isn't strong. But I recognize that I'm not alone in that as well. And through recognizing that I'm surrounding myself with people who are going through different stages of faith, then that's when I start to be able to open up and share what my struggles are, and also receive the support and advice and the love from all the other campers as well, as to grow that. And it's always with the Ga Sai, like, there's always that post-camp withdrawal that we often feel. But I think it's also important to carry that through, right? Like, it's to be able to know that, yeah, Ga Sai only happens once a year, but at the same time, we're surrounding ourselves within our own church community to grow that faith together, no matter how strong or how not strong yet it could be. Yeah.
And since you have been serving Ga Sai, like, since 2013, and then you become an overall coordinator like 2019, and there is kind of a continuation of what you are trying to lift out, I guess, something a value in your family that you have been trying to lift out as well, even in your job? How long have you been working?
Technically working 2 years, officially full-time 2 years. Yeah. I've been in school for quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, like,
Yeah.
everyone has his own path and journey in terms of kind of like going through what God calls you to be. So do you want to talk a bit about how the value of your family affect your sense of want to serve others?
Yeah, so I grew up baptized. Like, my mom is Catholic, and I've been going to church, but with my own family values that does align with church, right? Like, my dad has always been very selfless, and he would always go out of his way to help his family and his friends, and that was something that I also grew up with as a really strong value of mine, is like, how can I help others? And then when I went through my own lived experience with mental health, and receiving that support, my mentality also grew. It was from, how can I help myself first? Like, so self-care with my own growth. And then how can I help others and contribute back to the community that has helped me overcome my struggles? So that with that, like, that's why I'm in social work. So I've been in social work for 2 years now. I'm hoping to continue that. But before even going into social work, I was always wondering, like, how can I help others throughout my whole life? And how can I find a career out of that? And essentially that is where I found my calling, I guess, is through social work, right? It's not about like help. It's not about being like helping others, or like essentially it's like, how can I help them grow, right? Like, I'm just someone who's going to be part of their journey, who will help them through whatever they're struggling with, and I wouldn't take credit for any of like that either, because I see each person as their own person, right? Like, they have their own strengths to carry and to grow, and I'm just there to support them, essentially. Yeah.
How do you see integrating faith in your work?
I guess with that, I am lucky to have, like, right now, my team leader, her name's Beth. She's also a very like dedicated Catholic as well. So sometimes when I do struggle with finding peace, or like understanding the barriers that we work with our families, then she would always say, like, okay, like, we pray for them. She goes to church daily, and whenever she does find herself struggling with the work that we do, she grounds herself through prayer. She grounds herself through her community at church, which I'm really grateful for. So she would always kind of just be reminders of, like, yeah, like, sometimes when you don't know what to do, or when you like kind of hit like a wall or something, then like you just pray, right? Like, you pray for yourself, obviously, but then you also really want to she would always pray for the families and for the people that we work with, right? Because it's not just through the work we do, but it's also like the work that God does for us. Yeah.
And how do you find, or how do you gain confidence when you face like difficulties in work?
How do I get confidence? I think for me, what I've learned throughout my years, okay, I'm not like, I feel like I'm aging myself, but like, what I've learned through my experience is like never being afraid to ask for help, never being afraid to express how I feel, or like to just lose the fear of being judged, I think is really big. Even like, whether it's through work of like, oh, I don't feel competent because I don't know the solution for it, but also knowing that I have my colleagues, I have my team leader to help me, to brainstorm with me, to understand what I'm struggling with, and to show that I have the tools for that. And I think similarly with like church, with Ga Sai, it's also knowing that it's a safe community to share with. Like, sometimes I might be like, okay, my faith isn't strong, and I might be on core at that time. Like, how can I be on core and also not have a strong faith, is something that sometimes I'm afraid of like sharing. But at the same time, with the people I've been so grateful to work with through core and through the support team, that I'm able to share my struggles in faith as well, and to be recognized as like, yeah, it's okay to have those ups and downs, and it's okay to not feel competent, but it's also to know that once you do reach out to someone, like, help is often there for me, and is to recognize that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to feel vulnerable and to share the struggles. Yeah.
Wow, this is beautiful. Since we talk about like different identities, like as an immigrant, as someone with a different culture, being grown up in Canada, however, with faith support, that we were able to take a journey that could be very different from if we don't have faith. So I will leave you with one of the anecdote, a story that I found on an app. It's called I Pray with the Gospel. It says, a youngster asked his spiritual director about his vocation. He knew he had to give his life to God, but wondered when to take the step. The holy priest replied to him, if God needs you tomorrow, he will call you tomorrow. If he's calling you now, he needs you now. So we will need to ask Mother Mary, like the Holy Mother, who is the most faithful, to help us to respond very quickly to whatever God is asking us for us today. So thank you very much, Jody, for being serving the Ga Sai community for so many years, as well as being willing to share with us your experience, your, well, it's not mistakes, but your struggles, as well as your hope and for your future in your career. Thank you very much, and have a good journey to continue to do what God is calling you to.
Thank you.
Bye for now.